The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 66 of the Warren and Bradley Show. Ooh. Quite a week. I've got a good story of woe, which I will share with the listeners later. I had a weird dream the other night. I know this just sounds like, okay.
If someone's listening to the podcast for the first time, they're like, oh, so this is what the podcast is about.
Yeah, it's about
I had a weird dream last night.
Dream interpretation.
I'm talk about my dream.
Or it's like you're hanging out with your girlfriend and you have to listen to the weird dream about how she looked like herself, but she didn't feel like herself.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
there were all these people she knew, but she didn't really know who they were. This is an example of my psyche trying to destroy me. And I'll explain. I was having a dream. Again, this probably will sound completely disjointed and boring to people, but I was in this house with a bunch of people who I didn't know. And feeling
like the real world.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Feeling kind of uncomfortable, but then there was a scratching at the door.
Oh, yeah.
And I opened the door, and it was my old dog, Maxie.
Oh, yeah, Maxie. I remember Maxie.
My dog who I loved. I loved this dog so much. She was my childhood dog. And I'd always felt bad because she died while I was in Los Angeles, and I hadn't been there to see her when she was dying. And so in the dream, I was just like, oh, Maxie, I was so happy.
Yeah.
So happy to see her. And she was jumping around, and we were playing, and I was petting her. And then, 5 minutes into this, I'm holding her in my arms, and she starts convulsing in horrible pain and whimpering and shrieking, and then just slowly dies in this horrible death in my arms. It's like, what the hell? And so I'm like sobbing in the dream. The dream continues with every pet I've ever loved and that has died, showing up again, being alive again, me being ecstatically pleased by seeing this pet again, and then it dying in a horrible fashion. This was the fucking dream I had.
That's pretty dark.
And I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, I realized it was a dream. Because sometimes you'll wake up and you'll still be in that weird dream state, and you're, oh, was that real?
Maybe
that just happened?
Dead animals came back to life.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I knew immediately it was a dream, and I was just like, what the fuck, brain? What are you trying to do here?
You're trying to grieve.
I've grieved enough.
Maybe you haven't grieved.
I don't know. You've
been putting up walls.
I was really irritated with my subconscious, actually. I was, I could be dreaming about having sex with attractive women. I could be dreaming about, going on an adventure somewhere or flying. But no, I have to get all my dead animals coming back to life and then dying horribly in succession in front of my eyes.
Well, you haven't been doing that thing where you've been doing your time-traveling dream series lately, have you?
I don't think I have.
Maybe you need to get back into that.
I try to do lucid dreaming. I'm a lucid dreaming expert, where I force myself into these adventure fantasies that I construct, and then as I fall asleep, I usually can act out those fantasies in my dreams.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because if you just let your damaged, horrible subconscious take over, it's just going to bring back a bunch of animals and make them convulse.
Well, it is kind of worrying to think like that's where my subconscious goes. As soon as I'm not in control anymore, it's like, let's twist the knife a little bit there, buddy. That's thanks. That's nice.
Sometimes I think about all the animals I've known over the years, and how if I've moved away or I haven't seen them in a long time, how they're all dead now. And I'm always like, that's a bummer, right? Because even if you saw a dog or a cat that you liked 10 years ago, and you hung out with, and then you left, it's dead by now usually, for the most part.
I think about if you get into be in your 50s or 60s and you start thinking about ex-girlfriends you've had and how many of them were probably dead by now.
50s or 60s.
Well, okay, maybe 70s or 80s. I don't know.
Well, I think when you get in your 70s and 80s, you're just thinking about how everyone's dying.
Yeah.
I know you talked about your immortality the other day, how much you would treasure it. But as far as I can tell from the old people I've known, the longer they live, the sadder and sadder they get because everyone keeps dying. And then they stop, I know my grandfather, before he died, he stopped going to funerals.
Right.
So it's just all you do is go to funerals.
I've known some old people to be slightly pleased by the fact that they've outlived everybody.
Well, you might be that kind of creepy, weird old person.
Maybe, but if I have
who doesn't treasure his relationships with others, but just wants to triumph and dance on over in their graves.
What was I doing? Oh, yeah, I was doing cartwheels while you were shitting in your colostomy bag.
That's right. You're like, aha, I'm still alive. And it's like, yeah, it's a big success.
That's not very nice. Okay. The other day it was raining like a bastard. And I don't know if you're
that.
aware of this place, but some of our listeners might know of Liberty Tax Services. It is a business.
What are we calling a business out?
We're calling out. It's a business in Bellingham.
I know you couldn't have been getting your taxes done there.
No. They pay people to dress like Lady Liberty.
Oh, yeah,
Lady
yeah.
Liberty, sorry, with a sign, and they force them to dance around on the street corner with a sign.
They're not forcing anyone. They're paying meth heads to dance on the corner.
Yes, but most of the people I see dancing on the corner are like teenage girls. Okay,
Runaways.
So I don't think so. They just seem like the same kind of kids who are holding the Domino's sign.
Well, the people that are holding the Domino's sign or the Little Caesar sign just look like tweakers to me. They're just like spazzing out on the corner.
Well, okay, so on one hand, yes, they're providing jobs for people who maybe you think they're tweakers. Maybe they wouldn't normally get a job. I think of them as just like teenagers who can't get a job at McDonald's or something. But anyway,
a teenager who can't get a job at McDonald's is basically a tweaker.
But that being aside, the fact that maybe they're helping the economy.
Yeah.
When I see a poor 16-year-old girl dressed in a foam Lady Liberty headdress holding a sign, and it is fucking monsoon outside, and they're in this bedraggled costume, sort of dancing around on a street corner, that does not make me say, oh, I want to get my taxes done at Liberty Tax Services. It makes me want to take a fucking cinder block and throw it through their window.
But you think if people who have that job enjoy it?
No.
I've always got the sense, the guys that flip the signs for the pizza places, that they think they're really cool. Someone this last week was showing me like a YouTube video of someone who was flipping one of those signs and was doing all this crazy stuff. They were sliding over, it was sliding over his back. He was like throwing it in the air and everything. It was really impressive.
Well, maybe there's some artiste, and that's the outlet of their creative energy.
They think they're really awesome, and they got like their like club music going, and
for the most part, they all look really miserable to me. And
well, they are miserable people, but
it's the same way with you hear some obnoxious radio ad, and it makes me never want to patronize that business. You know, it's publicity isn't always good, and advertising, just getting your name out there, isn't always good.
Okay, there's the thing I don't understand about advertising. As I was watching a basketball game the other night, and it was brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups advertising going on at that point. They're no doubt spending millions of dollars on this.
Right.
At this point, everyone knows, right?
I've known about them for a long time.
Is there anyone that's at home watching that is aware of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, or is eating me a Snickers and is like swayed in some way?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, advertising is a huge business.
It must work, right?
I'm sure they've done tons of research on it.
Oh, boy.
A train break!
It's going south. That's strange.
This is a train break.
I wanted to see the commercial of the industrial.
I was looking at John's Game Informer at home. The pictures they had, but I don't know.
I played the betas.
It's good.
Another excellent train break. What were we talking about? Advertising?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they've done all sorts of analytics and everything, and they know that these things work, supposedly. It doesn't seem to work on me. But I guess everyone would say that.
I guess everyone says that too, but really, I don't buy any of the things I see on TV.
The only time advertising would work on me is if I had a hankering for something and I didn't know that a certain product existed, and then an advertisement brought that to my attention, said, look, this is what you want right now.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay. But if I know about Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, I like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. If I see an ad for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, it doesn't make me any more likely to buy them.
Do you think it plants something in your brain that makes you want to buy them?
I don't know.
I don't feel like it does.
When I rarely eat candy, but every once in a while I'll get a hankering. And if I go to the grocery store, there's a big candy aisle. I look around and I'm like, what am I in the mood for? Maybe some Reese's Sticks.
And you've
maybe
experienced all these candies before, so you have an idea of what they are.
Right.
It's not like you're being introduced
to them. The fact
to
that I had recently seen an ad for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups won't make me more likely to buy those, I don't think.
You know what's not going to make me likely to buy them is those white chocolate ones. I don't know if they're still around, but...
That's not a good idea.
Oh, just looking at the picture of that, it looks like a peanut butter cup that has leprosy.
I don't like white chocolate anyway.
White chocolate's gross.
Yeah.
It's nauseating.
Dark chocolate, on the other hand.
Dark chocolate's good. I'm a milk chocolate man myself. And that's how you make a podcast,
people. Okay, Warren, here's something you might find interesting or disturbing, depending on your
I'll
point
be
of
the
view.
judge of that.
I was speaking with my older brother the other day. He was complaining about how hungry he was.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it was noon or something.
And you guys are so poor that he's like so hungry he's complaining about it.
It was just that he was like, oh, I need to have some lunch.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
starving. And he said the word starving. And I said, starving? Really? Oh, yeah, I hardly had any breakfast. Like, oh, what did you have for breakfast? I had an egg, some toast. And he started naming off this litany of shit he had for breakfast.
And it's only noon at this point?
And it's only noon at this point, but he's starving.
Yeah.
And he has to eat. So I was belittling him, of course, saying like, I had 4 Triscuits this morning and
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm not hungry at all. And so then I started thinking about perceptions of hunger. Are we feeling the same thing, but is his perception different? Does the little amount of hunger I'm feeling where I don't even notice it, if he were to put his brain in my body, would he be like, oh my God, I need to eat?
I assume he's feeling something different because I know what you're saying as far as like I will work all day till 1 o'clock and not eat anything the entire time and not really be hungry, but be like, it's 1 o'clock, I'll have like a sandwich now.
You just figure it's time
to eat.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, I really need food. Then I know people like the girlfriend I was with a while back when we were traveling and we had like a pretty hearty breakfast and we had been out for maybe 2 hours and she's like, I gotta get some lunch now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, didn't we just have a bunch of food? Because I don't, I have a bunch of food and I feel like I need to eat again for like 10 hours or something.
Well, see, I haven't completely figured this out yet, but as part of my journey of exploration of this idea, I decided that I wasn't going to eat for an entire day.
Yeah.
And see how I felt, like see if I was starving at the end of this. And so I had dinner during the evening, and then I was like, okay, I'm not going to have breakfast, I'm not going to have lunch, I'm going to wait 24 hours and I'll have dinner the next day. So I went through my day, and it was fine in the morning because I normally don't have any breakfast anyway. I put a little bit of ballast in there because sometimes I'll have a multivitamin or something, and if you don't have any food on your stomach, it gets kind of nauseous.
Yeah.
So, but that day I didn't. I just went through, came to be lunchtime, and normally I would just eat lunch, not because I'm hungry, but just it's something to do. It breaks up the day. Didn't have lunch, still felt fine. By the time dinner came around, I was like, I could eat. I guess I was hungry, but it wasn't a horror. It wasn't some horrible thing that was going on within my body.
Yeah, I don't ever feel hungry that way.
And so I know that obviously some people probably do, I don't know, maybe if you have hypoglycemia or some weird thing going on, maybe some people do have actual different physiological things that are going on in terms of whether or not they need to eat. But I also think that a huge percentage of it is simply what you're used to and how you've trained yourself to feel. Because if you think about humans in an evolutionary way, when we first evolved, food was scarce.
Yeah.
And so whenever you saw food, you would go, and just gorge yourself and eat whatever there was because you never knew when your next meal was going to come. And I think our society has evolved hugely since then, but our physiology hasn't really evolved since then. And so people still have that tendency to gorge themselves. That's why we're all fucking fat, because we have so much food.
But people also, like, in our modern society, have gotten the habit of eating at certain times every day.
True.
So that's the way people have been trained that have been eating that way.
And so do you think that just the fact that you skip lunch, even though your body is fine, you can go weeks without eating. I mean, you're not going to enjoy it, but you can go weeks without dying. Even though you're fine just because of the training of like, oh, we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that just psychosomatically makes you feel like you're starving, even though you're not starving.
No, you're not starving, but I think there are people that experience hunger pangs more than other people.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I really ever experience that.
My stomach never growls.
Oh, really?
No.
My stomach growls after I eat sometimes from digesting, but I know what you mean about like growling. I think I had that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember being hungry when I was a kid. And I would be like, ooh, and there'd be like a pizza, and I'd want to eat the whole entire thing because I was hungry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think as an adult I ever feel like I'm really like, ooh, I'm so hungry. It's just like, it's time to eat, so now I'm going to eat a bunch of food.
Well, there's still a lot of people in our society especially who they don't feel sated unless they are bloated with food.
Yeah.
And I hate that feeling. I eat until I don't need to. And it's not even as though I'm satiating some urge because I don't really feel the urge to begin with. So I just think, okay, this is an appropriate amount, and I will eat this, and that will make sure that I have enough energy to do what I need to do for the next few hours.
But your relationship with food is different than like a lot of people though too, because you don't seem to like food that much.
See, it's weird.
I like a passion for food.
I like food. If somebody puts something in front of me and it's delicious, I'm like, oh, this is delicious.
Yeah.
But I don't think about food. I don't look forward to food.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that way. And so I am fascinated if there was some way we could work this, if we could get my body and I could not eat for 8 hours and then put my brother's brain or somebody else's brain in my body, and would they feel what they think they feel when they're in their own body, or is it really just physiologically my body does not send those hunger signals in the same way?
I think that's probably what it is. I think it's your brain though. It is your brain experiencing things in that way, and you don't feel that same drive to do that.
I don't know. I come down more on the side of I've just conditioned myself.
Well, it's a habit,
I guess. Well, it's the same way of like pain perception, because I've had girlfriends before. I don't know if this is universal, but it seems like every girlfriend I've ever had, every once in a while they try to do the little test where they're like, and they like grab you or something or try to pinch you and like, does this hurt? And I'm like, no, it's fine. And they're like, just pinching your flesh as hard as they can with their little fingernails. And once I had a girlfriend doing that to me, and she's like, does this hurt? Does this hurt? And I guess technically I could say, well, yeah, maybe it hurts a little bit. But to me, it's not that big of a deal. And so she got to the point where it actually broke the skin. And she went, oh, and freaked out. It's like, why didn't you say anything? And then you do it to them. You like barely pinch a little bit. And they're like, oh! And so that's a perception. I mean, I think we're feeling...
But that's a perception, but it's like, that's just the nature of being like a human.
Yeah.
And certain people dislike things more than other people.
Yeah.
And there are things in life that maybe they don't mind at all.
Right.
They're going through their daily life, not constantly annoyed by being behind people when they're driving down the road or people in line at a grocery store. They're just, they have no problem with that. And then they see you're like dander rising at these things and they're like, what's his problem? Those things don't bother me. I'm not annoyed by those things.
You always have to bring it back to me, don't you, Warren?
Well, I had to bring it back to you, yeah, because you're like implying that you're like, oh, well, I'm just a lot tougher than other people. I can stand a lot of pain. I don't have to eat for days at a time. But it's like, that may be true about...
I was implying
it's implied about those kind of things. But it's also true that, like, other things in life are harder for you to do and they're easier for other people to do.
I don't place any moral judgment on this. I'm actually just fascinated by the idea of perception. I mean, because this crops up all the time, too, where people are like, oh, I'm freezing, I'm cold. People come over to my apartment and they're shivering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel fine. I think we're feeling the same thing. We're both experiencing the same temperature.
But you're not experiencing things in the same sense. Just like the way people perceive things. We've talked about people's sexuality and stuff too, right? Yeah. Me looking at an attractive woman and then someone else, like a woman looking at that same attractive woman, we are looking at the same thing, but we're having completely different experiences when we're looking at those things.
But that's perception. That's my point.
But that's perception, but that's...
And there's also biology involved in that.
There's biology and there's perception and stuff, but it's also like, that's their experience of what's going on.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. I know we've talked about before. It's just interesting the fact that you can never experience things from someone else's perspective.
You really don't know. You have no idea what anyone else is seeing. We can make inferences. We can judge based on science and educated guesses. But all the colors I'm seeing right now, you might not be seeing at all the same thing.
Yeah,
I have no way of knowing that.
Or the emotional responses or the things you're thinking about when you see things are completely different than the things I'm thinking about. But at the same time, that's what makes times that you talk to someone or you relate to someone in some way and they have an experience similar to yours. I think that's a very bonding or a good human experience. People are like, oh yeah, I experience things in that same way. And it's like you're explaining to someone something that's going on in your head that you can never actually show them, but because they're having the same experience, you can relate to them on that level.
Right.
And that's what makes that so pleasant for people.
Come on, we're getting so deep and philosophical here on the Warren and Bradley show. We're gonna have to vacuous it up with
Celebrity Minute.
Celebrity Minute.
Yeah,
we'll
I'm sure that won't be a problem.
We have to wash this taste out of our mouths.
Yeah.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Okay, it's time to set the podcast right with some vacuous celebrity news.
Oh, good.
We'll start out with a less vacuous story, though. Pop star Lulu was the victim of a crime at a cash point in London on Thursday. Do you remember Lulu? You don't remember her because you weren't alive yet.
Oh, I lives on the second floor. That one?
No. That was that's my name is Luca.
My name is Luca.
I live on this. I don't know who the fuck did that. I remember that as a little kid. Like, what the hell is this? No, this is Lulu.
I don't know who Lulu is.
If you wanted the moon, I would try to make a start, but To Sir with Love.
No.
There was some movie with Sidney Poitier in the 60s.
Actually, that book I was reading was talking about that movie when Sidney Poitier was in it, To Sir with Love.
Yeah.
And it was a huge hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she sang the theme song to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting.
Anyway, she's 64 years old now, and apparently she was at a cash point in London. Some guy, a cash point is what British people call ATM machines.
No.
She was getting her card out. Some ruffian came by and told her that the machine was broken, and as she was distracted, he snatched her card. What I enjoyed about this is that she's this tiny little old woman. She actually chased the perpetrator, screaming at him, saying, "That man's got me card!"
Yeah.
And screaming after the man. And now London police are investigating. I just like the idea of, who was it? I guess it was Ray Davies from the Kinks, who, he was in his 60s when this happened. He saw someone snatching someone's purse.
Yeah.
And he chased after the man and, like, tackled him and got the purse back.
Really?
I don't know. I like that. I mean, you know, Lulu probably isn't in the spotlight much anymore, but the idea of an aging celebrity, they're just going about their lives now. The limelight's faded a little bit, and people will try to steal their ATM cards, or they will get involved in purse snatchings.
Huh.
I don't know if I'm making
I know, no, I think it makes sense. I think it is good that, like, as far as street crime is concerned, maybe on a particular incident, it's probably not good to, like, confront someone who has a weapon or something. But, like, it is true that if people are committing, like, blatant street crimes, if everyone started being, like, going right after them, the minute they did it, as a society, it would cut back on street crime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next story. Charlie Sheen wants to help Lindsay Lohan. She clearly needs a mentor.
Clearly.
Charlie Sheen is worried about the direction that Lohan's life is going.
Blind leading the blind.
And he feels that he could be of help to her in her travails because he's done all this in the past. When you get to the point when Charlie Sheen is worried about the trajectory of your life, then it's time to check yourself into
I would
rehab.
say that if I was Lindsay Lohan, Charlie Sheen is the, like, best case scenario for her life at this point. Charlie Sheen was out of control for many years. Kept bringing in money. I know he's lost a bunch of teeth and because he's completely out of control, but he's still, like, alive. And he still works.
Right.
I mean,
in spite of all the odds.
It's really, because a lot of people who are living the Charlie Sheen lifestyle end up in a body bag.
Because usually if you do have a meltdown, your career suffers, and he somehow was able to persevere through that.
I think the thing that Sheen did was he always showed up for work.
Right.
Which
and
is
she
not
doesn't,
Lindsay was
she doesn't
doing.
seem to have that down.
That's the thing. You can do all this stuff as long as you just show up put on your crappy movies or crappy TV shows.
Right. I guess recently she had borrowed some expensive dress from him. I don't know why. I don't know. This story is weird. I don't know why he had a dress, but then she wore it to a club, and then she cut it in half or something.
What?
And he was annoyed. I don't know.
I can see how that would be. I'd be annoyed, too, if somebody borrowed one of my dresses and cut it in half.
Justin Bieber celebrates his 19th birthday. Now, I thought he was already 19, but apparently he just turned 19. There's a picture of him shirtless, wearing blue leather pants, pulled down past his ass. We'll post these pictures online. This is him showing up at the hotel after a performance, and he's going to go get ready to go out for his birthday. What the fuck is wrong with him? He looks like such a fucking idiot. And here he is dressed up for the birthday party. Again, we'll post these pictures.
Black leather pants now.
What kind of a douchebag dresses like that? Jesus Christ. I guess the birthday celebrations did not go off without a hitch because he went to a club in London, Cirque du Soir.
Oh, yeah.
And actually had a confrontation with the security team there because Jaden Smith, who was only 14, was not allowed in the club. Why is Will Smith letting his 14-year-old son party with Justin Bieber at a London club?
That's a good question.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I guess in London you can be 16 and go into a pub, but you're supposed to be 18 to drink or something, right?
I don't know.
I'm not sure
the
how the
drinking
laws
laws
go.
and everything is very confusing to me.
Yeah, but obviously a 14-year-old is not allowed in the club. But I guess Bieber was devastated by this, and he posted a sad tweet saying how it was the worst birthday ever. But all the believers, they told him to buck up. They still love him.
Trust me, Justin, things will get much worse for you.
To get even more vacuous,
Oh, good.
Anne Hathaway threw a huge fit over Amanda Seyfried's Oscar dress.
This picture I saw earlier, and I actually read this story earlier in the week. That's how pervasive this story was in the culture.
Now, this is an important story, so let's get the details straight.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway was supposed to wear a dress by Valentino.
Yeah.
Specifically made for her by Valentino, who is a personal friend of hers. He made her wedding dress. Now, it was a beautiful, lacy, nude dress. I don't know what that means.
A nude dress?
Nude. I guess you can see things.
Oh, a little diaphanous.
Or maybe it has some sort of like body stocking, peach colored.
I guess we'll never know.
I don't know. But apparently it was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's very important that she was going to wear this dress. During the rehearsal, she asked Amanda Seyfried what dress she was wearing. Amanda Seyfried showed her a picture of an Alexander McQueen dress, which was very similar to the Valentino dress that Anne Hathaway was about to wear. Now, what a bitch Amanda Seyfried is to try to upstage. Obviously, she's not going to win an Oscar. She knew that Anne Hathaway was nominated, so this was her bitchy way of trying to pull the spotlight away from her. So, understandably, Anne Hathaway freaked out on Amanda Seyfried.
Oh, it's completely reasonable.
Started screaming at her.
Yeah.
Completely justified in this behavior. Amanda Seyfried, to show how much of a bitch she was, just walked away.
Yeah.
She wouldn't get involved in this discussion. She just walked away.
Yeah.
So then there was a huge crisis. All Anne Hathaway's people were called into her home, her publicist, her stylist, all these people. Hours and hours and hours of poring over pictures, looking at other dresses. What could they pick? What could they do? Finally, luckily, they picked a Prada dress, which Anne Hathaway was happy with. It wasn't as beautiful as the nude, lacy, diaphanous Valentino dress.
But it'll do in a pinch.
But then, unfortunately, there was darting on the bust of the dress, leading some people to think that perhaps it was her nipples showing through the dress.
Oh, really?
But it was just darting. So luckily, she found a dress. She looked beautiful.
She looked great.
She looked radiant. Next story from Us Weekly. Sean Diddy Combs confess, I used to be a bedwetter.
There's a picture of him and Marky Mark.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Oh, what a couple of cool guys.
A lesson from Sean Diddy Combs. Drink water, not Kool-Aid, so you won't wet the bed. He was on the Ellen Show promoting...
How is that related?
Well, you'll see. He was promoting his launch of a new water brand, Aqua Hydrate, with Mark Wahlberg.
No, this is all just a way to, launch a brand of bottled water?
It won't make you wet the bed. Quote, one thing I want to say, I grew up as a Kool-Aid kid, never drank water. I used to pour a half a pound of sugar into the Kool-Aid. Besides it having me bouncing off the walls, I used to be a bedwetter. Okay, I guess I'm confessing that I used to be a bedwetter. I went on this quest to stop wetting the bed, and the first day that I had a sleepover and didn't wet the bed, I was like, one of the greatest days of my life. It gave me a swagger that I have today because I stopped wetting the bed. There's something about sugar that makes you wet the bed. I don't know what scientific basis he has for this. So to all you boys and girls out there, as Muhammad Ali used to tell you, brush your teeth. I'm telling you to drink water, okay? It'll stop you from wetting the bed, and you won't be embarrassed in front of girls at sleepovers.
It is better to drink water than to drink Kool-Aid for you physically, but I don't think it's related to wetting the bed.
Well, water will also make you wet the bed, but there is something to be said. Sugar will dehydrate you. And it seems counterintuitive, but the sugar actually pulls more water out of your system because it takes more water to
yes. Well, like if you drink a
metabolize
soda,
the sugar.
It's not something that you should be drinking after a sporting event.
Right.
Yeah.
Because actually it takes more water from you to process
like alcohol.
What's in the soda.
Yeah,
the caffeine, alcohol, sugar. So perhaps there's some slight scientific basis for this, but...
I think that's pretty tenuous.
Is this also some sort of racist story? Because everyone always has the idea of the purple drink or the Sunny D. That's all black people drink.
If a white person had been talking about him drinking Kool-Aid, it would be a big story, but it'd be because it was a racial stereotype.
Yeah. Speaking of the Oscars, I did not watch the telecast. I don't know if you did, Warren.
IT guy John's girlfriend and a friend of hers were over watching it, and I would occasionally pop into the room. I saw the Jennifer Lawrence fall. I just happened to be in the room for that, and I just look and see what's going on now. And it went on for hours and hours and hours, and they're like nothing.
Yeah,
just commercials and then somebody singing.
I never watch them. I find it interminable.
Yeah,
but apparently Seth MacFarlane's hosting gig was not without controversy. Some people thought he did a good job. Some people thought he was racist, sexist, and homophobic.
Well, I think that's what people thought of him beforehand. The whole thing that happened with Seth MacFarlane caught me off guard because the day of the Oscars, I looked at the Facebook, and my Facebook feed was full of a bunch of hate against Seth MacFarlane.
Right.
I was like, what's going on? So I was looking on the internet trying to figure out what Seth MacFarlane had done, and I couldn't figure it out. But I guess it's just that people don't people think the Family Guy is racist, so that's why they hate Seth MacFarlane? That's the whole gist of it, right?
Maybe, I guess.
Because what else was all the animosity about?
I don't know.
He didn't do anything specifically, like, recently, did he?
I don't think so. I mean, he had Ted came out recently. That was well received. People seem to like that.
He was involved in making Ted?
He directed it and wrote it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't think he was like a weird pariah or politically incorrect pariah or anything, but now...
But he definitely is, I've come to find out.
Well, there was a musical number during the show called I Saw Your Boobs, where he sang about all the actresses' boobs that he had seen in movies.
Yeah.
They were all in on the joke. They had these canned responses from them as they were sitting in the audience. Some of the other highlights, or perhaps lowlights, depending on your point of view. Our next two presenters, at least one is honest about being a former exotic dancer, he said while introducing Channing Tatum and Jennifer Aniston. Seems innocuous enough. He also said, we have finally reached the point in the ceremony where either Javier Bardem, Penelope Cruz, or Salma Hayek comes on stage and we have no idea what they're saying, but we don't care because they're so attractive. It's fine.
Those things are fine. I think if Billy Crystal had said those things, nobody would have cared.
Nobody would care, but this is him being racist, apparently. This is the story of a man fighting to get back his woman who's been subjected to unthinkable violence, or as Rihanna and Chris Brown call it, a date movie. I find that amusing. I don't know about anybody else. To give you an
Again,
idea.
it's not fair to be... Okay, people, it is not fair to be angry with Seth MacFarlane. Chris Brown is the person who beat Rihanna.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. Seth MacFarlane is not the person who beat anyone.
To give you an idea of how young she is, it'll be 16 years before she's too young for Clooney on Beasts of the Southern Wilds, Quvenzhané Wallace.
Yeah, that's a difficult name.
Yeah.
Although I guess they're going to remake Annie with her.
I heard about this.
Yeah.
We'll
see. I don't care.
Does that movie need to be remade? Is anybody clamoring for an Annie remake?
No.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
Talk about something that I
up.
feel like was around a lot when I was a kid, that I haven't heard a lot about recently.
I would prefer her to a freakish ginger prancing around with a perm. When talking about Zero Dark 30 and its real-life protagonist, Maya, played by Jessica Chastain, he said, the film was a triumph and also a celebration of every woman's innate ability to never let anything go.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
You know, Warren, it's been a while, but why don't we do That's What Men Are Like?
No.
They say they love you, and now they want sex. But then they leave you when you gain a little weight, but it's not your fault, 'cause sodium makes you retain water. Oh, they never want to listen when you talk about the girls at work you hate. And when you actually feel like loving, all they want to do is masturbate. 'Cause that's what men like. Whoa, that's what men like.
The dulcet tones of Rhonda, Rufus McKay's old lady. That's What Men Are Like is inspired by a confrontation I saw downtown a little ways back. College douchebags having some sort of disagreement outside of a bar.
Yeah.
Doing the whole simian posturing, chest out thrust. Come on, man, do it. What are you going to do? Yeah, come on, bring it. Okay, yeah, you bring it, man. Oh, I'm going to bring it. Come on, let's do it. Dancing around in the act of almost running away from each other, but trying to act as though they are intimidating each other.
They're lunging each other, but they're sort of like going around each other, and they're actually getting farther away as they're lunging at each other.
There's this weird invisible bar connecting their chests, and they won't go any closer than this strange, weird line. And it just occurred to me, you know, nothing happened. They circled for a while. Their friends egged them on. They said a bunch of homoerotic things.
Homophobic, probably.
There was like, suck my dick, man. I'm going to fuck you in the ass. No, suck my dick. I'm like, why don't you go get a fucking room? Talk about fighting. Go get a room and fuck each other and get it out of your systems. I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyway, nothing happened. And it just occurred to me, men are often put forth as horribly violent, horribly aggressive. We let our emotions run wild. Well, not necessarily emotions, but our aggression, our violence. We're so quick to use violence as an answer in conflict resolution. But when I think about how many men there are in this world, and then how many fights I witness on a daily basis, it's very few. I see tons of disagreements. I see tons of arguments. But in all 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you can tell that these men do not want to get into a physical altercation.
No.
They want to appear as though they're willing to, but they don't actually want to go through with it because getting punched in the face hurts.
Yeah.
And more than even getting punched in the face, punching somebody in the face hurts. How many times have you punched somebody in the face?
I don't think I've ever done that.
Really?
No.
No. It hurts. It hurts your hand.
Yeah, I know. I've hit like walls and stuff.
Yeah. Skin, all the skin off your knuckles gets ripped off. You get horrible bruising. You can hardly move your hand for days.
I know in Hollywood's, there's a lot of violence in movies and TV shows, and there's a lot of punching, and that never comes up.
No.
And only in like, occasionally they'll show that and somebody will be like, ow, and they'll be like, that's a joke, ha 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 ha. But yeah, hitting something with your fist really, really hard, it's mostly just bone.
Well, that's why boxers tape the fuck out of their hands and wear gloves.
Yeah.
It fucking hurts. And beyond that, most people don't want to get into a violent altercation. Most people are frightened. Most people are...
Beyond frightened, it's just like potential of injury to both you and the other person.
Potential police becoming involved.
Police becoming involved.
Legal ramifications.
Yes, there's many, many reasons not to get involved in a fight.
And obviously there are plenty of examples of men becoming violent. We've had Sandy Hook recently. We've had lots of shootings. There's tons of cases of domestic abuse, all sorts of things. And usually if violence is perpetrated, it's usually a man who is perpetrating that violence.
Yeah.
But considering the fact that especially men from the ages of like 17 to 24 are simply a shell for testosterone to reside in, the fact that we very rarely actually lash out and beat our fellow humans, I think is something to be celebrated.
It's a tribute to socialization.
I think it is.
I would say that.
We are insanely amazing in our self-control.
Yeah, but that's just a function of like the consequences, right?
Now, this isn't to say to all the women out there to start testing us. Because it only goes so far.
Yeah, well, this gets back to your weird thing about like where you always try to explain to women the fact that you're stronger
they should appreciate
than them.
The fact that we
you
don't beat them all the time.
You don't beat them or like sexually molest them.
This is very tongue-in-cheek. Let's get that out there right now. But I have had conversations with women where I act as though I'm completely serious, and I explain to them the fact that if we wanted to, we could completely dominate them in every way. We could physically dominate them if we had a mind to do so.
Yeah.
Because we are much stronger than them, generally.
True.
There are some little wussy dudes, and there's some scarily strong women. Khloe Kardashian comes to mind.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to, we could physically dominate these women, but we choose not to. And that shows an amazing amount of self-restraint. And I think that we should be applauded
Because you
for
feel
that.
a desire to dominate these women?
I don't at all. I'm just trying to be facetious. But there actually was a woman who I had this conversation with, completely, I thought, blatantly, sarcastically having this conversation. And then at the culmination of the conversation, she went, "You know, you're right. Men don't get the appreciation they deserve for not beating us all the time."
But you could just say that about anyone, like...
Can I marry you right now?
You could say that about me, though. I'm bigger than most of the people I'm around all the time.
And you don't beat people up all the time.
I could beat up most of the people that I'm around all the time.
You should be applauded for this, Warren. People should go... I think that there should be an International Appreciation Day for men where the world's women, the world's children, the world's disabled, all those weaker than the average men get together and they celebrate the fact that us normal men don't beat the shit out of them on a daily basis, because God knows we want to.
I think it's going to be tough for you to get that holiday through Congress. For like everyone had to take a day off for not being beaten.
God, if only Romney had been elected.
And everyone that's been convicted of domestic abuse has to go to work that day.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't do it like the rest of us could.
Well, I think, all joking aside, I think it is something to celebrate not resorting to violence to solve problems.
Yes. It's an improvement society.
Yeah.
As we progressed. Crime rates have been going down for many years now. There's no violence in my life. I never, you know what I mean? I'm never around violence. The only time I am maybe is when I am going home late at night and I do see that thing where people are circling.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting when that does happen, though, because you're like, ooh, and you run over to see because you want to see somebody fight, right?
But it's almost always disappointing.
Yeah, no, it barely ever.
And then if men actually do fight, it's the lamest thing in the world. They're like slapping at each other like women. They don't even know what to do.
Well, think about those fights, too. It's like...
Throw a fucking punch.
They're not fighting for any reason, right?
No.
So it's like... as much as they want to like show how tough they are and demonstrate their like masculine supremacy, it's also like, what are you fighting over? Some lame thing that happened at a bar?
Well, I will say I'm happy. I have been in a couple fights in my life, but I've never been in a fight based on just macho posturing in a bar. It's been either somebody attacked me or I was helping defend somebody else. I used to get attacked by people occasionally. So I'm glad that that's never been the case.
No, it's a better society. A society that's not ruled by violence.
But I was recently in a confrontation with somebody. We'll probably get into this in the next segment.
Oh.
Where they were inches from my face screaming at me to hit them. And I resisted the impulse, even though I wanted to very badly. But I resisted the impulse.
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario.
Maybe 150 years ago, I would have just beat the shit out of them. But now, knowing the kind of society we live in, legal ramifications, all sorts of other ramifications, I had the self-control to not do that. And most people do. And that is something to be applauded. And that's what men are like.
Yeah, they like to wear black socks with khaki shorts. And on Sundays, instead of on the lawn, they like to eat hot wings, drink domestic beer, and watch endless stupid fucking sports. They're insensitive, so selfish too. We can't kill them all, so we'll just fucking have to fucking make do. Yeah, that's what men are like. That's what men are like. Talking about what men are like. Oh yeah, that's what men are like.
Okay, so something's been happening this week, and I've been debating as to whether or not I was going to mention it on the podcast, but it involves my older brother and a crazy psycho roommate that he had, and he gave me the go-ahead to talk about it on the podcast, and I think maybe we'll be able to draw some things from this. Maybe it'll incite other discussions. Let me give a little background information. My brother has a house, lives near me. He rents a house, and he has had a cavalcade of
Quite a succession of unsuccessful
crazy
roommates.
going through there. I don't know if it's because if you're someone looking for a room in a house, you're just automatically crazy. I don't know what it is, but people not paying rent, drunken crazy Irishmen, young couples who live there for 2 days, break up and then just leave without saying anything.
Yeah.
It's just been a nightmare for him, and I've felt sorry for him. He finally at one point found a roommate who I was a little iffy about from the very beginning, but he seemed to think he was an okay guy. And also, let me preface with this. As I tell this story, I'm sure I'll go off into impersonations of this person who we're going to be speaking about. And let me just say right now, the person is gay.
Yeah.
I am in no way gay bashing by going into an impersonation of this person. It just happens to be the way this person speaks.
Yeah.
I have nothing against gay people, nothing against homosexuality. I'm not homophobic in any way. And even though this person is a despicable human being, it's not because they're gay.
No.
That is
it's just
peripheral.
it's one of their features.
It's one of their distinguishing characteristics.
Was white too, right?
Yes.
Okay. You're not bashing them because they're white.
No.
No.
Yeah, nobody would ever think that.
Yeah, but they happen to be white.
Yeah.
They happen to be gay.
So, he gets this roommate. He is a late 40s gay gentleman who seems kind of charming at first, but I think the very first time I met him, he was telling me the story of his last roommates and how horrible they were, and talking about his boss, how his boss is a horrible, horrible person. And right off the bat, you know when you have people who are constantly telling you how everyone's fucking with them? Yeah. And you start thinking...
What is the common issue?
You are the common denominator in all these stories. So maybe not everyone else is crazy. Maybe you're the fucking crazy one. But, yeah, I don't know. He seemed charming. He seemed okay. He was on disability. I don't know what for. But he didn't work. He made jewelry or something.
Yeah.
He sat down in the living room and made jewelry. He was on disability. He seemed perfectly physically able, but I don't know, whatever.
Well, maybe the things that are upcoming in the story are reasons for disability.
I don't think it was for any mental issues, which he will later display. So basically, this person moves in, seems to be going okay, but slowly, as this guy was living there, he started kind of taking advantage. He'd be bumming cigarettes all the time, borrowing money from my brother. My brother would go out of his way. He went and got him a stereo from work and did all these things like, I'm going to help you out. He'd start being late on rent, late on bills. My brother would let it slide. And then when it got to the point where my brother would ask him to do something, like maybe he had left a mess in the kitchen or something, and say, could you clean this up? He flipped the fuck out at him. Just freaked out, screamed, started just yelling hateful, horrible things at him, and was, I'm out. I'm moving out. Next day, comes back. I'm so sorry about that. I just lost my temper, and I'm really sorry. That'll never happen again. If it were me, I'd be like, no, just go.
Yeah.
You're out. I don't want to live with somebody who seems so unstable and unhinged. Yeah. My brother let him stay. Things get worse. I would go over to my brother's house and see the living area that the roommate lived in. It was always just trashed and looked horrible. He started just throwing cigarette butts in the backyard. He just started throwing his trash in the backyard. It started getting worse and worse with the bills and with the rent. I think the straw that broke the camel's back was that my brother came home and there was flour strewn all over the kitchen. One of the dogs had gotten into some flour. He did not clean it up. Yeah. And there were footprints. After he had seen the flour, he walked through the flour and then just walked all over the house with the flour everywhere. Yeah. My brother very reasonably asked, why didn't you just clean it up? Yeah. Not my fucking dogs! Flipped the fuck out again, started screaming, going insane. To the extent of, this person is frighteningly insane. Like, I don't know what this person is going to do. Just shrieking, losing all control. And so that was it. My brother's like, okay, you're...
yeah, it's probably time.
End of the month, you're out. Yeah. That's the way it's going to be. They developed into this relationship, or lack of relationship, where no words would be spoken. My brother would leave notes like, the rent is due, you haven't paid me rent. He would write back, fuck you, asshole motherfucker, and like write on these notes. Started bitching about the condition of the house when he was the one who had created the conditions that he was living in. Then one day my brother comes home. He vandalized the inside of the house. He wrote all these hateful, horrible messages all over the house to the prospective new roommates, telling them, this place is a fucking dump. This place is a dog toilet. I think one of my brother's dogs had like shat on the floor once or something. Just vandalized the house. Yeah. I heard about this. I wanted to go over there and kick the shit out of him. My brother convinced me not to do this. It's like, we don't want a confrontation. It's like, well, what did you do? Did you do anything? It's like, no, I just went upstairs. I didn't want to deal with it. So this little fucker vandalizes the house, and then he just sits on the couch, and when my brother comes in, he's like, what are you gonna do? Like, it just made me want to beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah, that was, when I was hearing this was going on, I was like, this is probably a time when you can resolve things with violence. And I, you know what I mean? Yeah. That was my inclination, too. I was like, well, this can be dealt with.
Well, it's like, so what are you gonna do? This guy is absolutely unhinged. I don't know if he's even actually gonna leave. Is he gonna get his shit out of there? He decides he's going to go to the police. I'm going to be reasonable. I'm going to go within the law and try to see what I can do. Police won't do anything.
No.
So legally, he didn't really have any recourse. And so he came to me saying, I want you to come over with me. He was going to organize some people. He was supposed to be out on a Thursday. We're going to get some people over on a Friday. If he hasn't left, we'll get him out. We'll get all his shit out. So I want you to come over with me a couple days previous to tell him what's going on. And again, I don't know if it's just that he wanted me to take some of the heat off of him during the confrontation or what. We show up there. I see the state of his living area. It's fucking disgusting. I see the shit he's thrown all over the backyard, his garbage, his cigarette butts, the kitchen. Just the state of everything is disgusting. I see the graffiti all over the walls where he's just saying the most horrible, hateful things. He's sitting there with this little smug smirk on his face, sitting on the couch. I walk in, he says nothing. He doesn't acknowledge the fact that we're in the house. I survey the damage, and I turn to him and say, what the fuck is this? He says nothing. What was your fucking plan? And then he just loses it.
Yeah.
He's up off the couch. He's in my face. He's inches from me. I'm gonna fucking die, fucking motherfucker. It's none of your fucking business. What business of your... This is my fucking brother's house, you asshole. This is why it's my fucking business. I am a very calm person. I don't lose my temper easily. I don't yell, usually, ever. This is one of those situations where I think for a while I tried to be reasonable. And obviously it's kind of like, as we've talked before about Chief Wiggum trying to talk sense to the crazy homeless person.
It's that situation.
This guy is unhinged, and there's nothing I can say that's going to penetrate. He's probably mentally ill. There's something going on. So in some ways I'm thinking I can't hate this person, but I also have a visceral reaction to some raging queen inches from my face screaming at me. I wanted to pummel the shit out of him. I wanted to break him over to my knee. I wanted to take every bone and snap it.
Yeah.
I wanted to just beat the living shit out of him, but I did not. I tried for a while to maintain my composure. My voice eventually increased in volume because his was at such a huge volume I couldn't make myself heard. It got to the point where he was calling me a hipster doofus. That was like
the worst. Kramer?
Yes, that was the worst insult he could come up with.
Yeah.
Well, you're just a hipster doofus. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, you've read me so well.
Yeah.
What am I going to do now? And I think I called him like an aging, decrepit queen or something. Again, just stating facts. And he's like, suck my dick, asshole, and all this shit. Got to the point where I was getting so irritated with him. He jumped up off the couch, was screaming in my face. I was like, sit the fuck down right now. Or what? Just sit the fuck down and get out of my fucking face. Or what are you going to do, asshole? What are you going to do? Suck my dick. Come on. What are you going to do? I will. And I was right to the point of threatening him. And then I realized, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't threaten violence. I can't perpetrate any violence. He noticed my hesitation. It's like, what's the matter, pussy? Hit me. Hit me. Come on, hit me. What are you going to do? See what happens. See what happens. I'm disabled and I'm gay. Oh, you're going to gay bash a disabled man? Come on. See what happens. Oh, my God. I was so annoyed with this person. Finally, I don't know if I was intimidating enough or he just ran out of steam. He sat back down. I reiterated what was going to happen. And again, do we understand each other? Yeah, fine. Got up again, talked about how he's going to shit on my brother's belongings. He's going to shit on his pillow, shit on everything. Began pulling his pants down.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Is he going to shit right now? Is that what's going on? No, he just mooned us. Finally, I'm like, okay, this isn't getting us anywhere. I said what I came to say. Start trying to leave. Fuck you, motherfucker. As I'm about to go out the door, like a little parting shot.
Yeah.
So I turn around again. Shut the fuck up. Do we understand each other? Well. He kind of looks away. I'm like, all right. Start leaving. Fuck you, asshole. Suck my dick. No. I turn around again. You shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Do we understand each other?
Yeah.
Well. Start leaving it. Fuck you, dick. Fuck you. No. Do we understand each other? Yeah, well, okay. Yeah.
Fun game.
Start leaving again. Fuck you, hipster doofus. Go fuck yourself in the ass. Shut the fuck up. I'm leaving. You're not getting the last word. And finally, I left. His name is Lauren Walker, by the way. This person,
Don't let him into your house.
If this person answers your Craigslist posting, I don't know where the fuck he went. He did leave eventually, but guess what he did? The aftermath of him leaving, he left the premises. He set a series of booby traps. He was stealing all the bills and ripping them up.
Yeah.
In the hope that my brother would be charged late fees for his utilities, for his water, his power, which he did. He then called the water service and had the water shut down, claiming to be my brother.
Yeah.
And then told my brother that it was shut down because my brother hadn't paid the bill. My brother had never gotten the bill because he had stolen the bill. My brother went to Water and Power to have the water turned back on. They did so. When he came back to the house, it was flooded. He had purposely had the water shut off, then opened every valve, inches of water all over the house. He took a bar of soap, put it in the toilet, shat a giant pile on top of the bar of soap, knowing that when the water was turned back on and my brother tried to flush it, the bar of soap would become lodged in the toilet and the shit would flow everywhere into the bathroom. He poured about a gallon of maple syrup into the bottom of the stove so that when my brother turned the stove on, it would start a fire and bubble everywhere. He is like a professional crazy person.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know what entertainment value is in this story. I just think, I was thinking...
I think you did a very good job of restraining yourself.
It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, this whole story, because... Yes, I should feel pity for this person because obviously they're completely fucked up. Their life is horrible.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any friends. He has no job. He has no prospects. He's
Probably
just
not.
fucked up. He has mental issues. He should be on medication, whatever. But at the same time, just think of how miserable it would be in that fucking house dealing with this shit. If you don't have your own space, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
I have my apartment. I have my refuge where I can come. I feel comfortable. I can relax. If you're with this retarded motherfucking piece of shit sitting on your couch, staring daggers at you, writing epitaphs all over the walls, what kind of life is that? And I feel so angry at him for putting my brother through this. And I have no satisfaction because a person like that... yes, you can argue all you want that, oh, well, they need help. They need help. That doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
I wanted to bludgeon him to within an inch of his life. That would have made me feel better, and that would have been some sort of cosmic justice. But we live in the kind of society now where he was absolutely right. When he was baiting me to hit him in the face, what would happen? The cops come, it's me and my brother, and a gay man on disability in his late 40s. Even though I don't know what disability he's on, they have record, oh, he's getting a disability check from the government. Oh, and it's gay bashing. It's some sort of hate crime. They beat the shit out of this guy. We've talked before about vigilante justice, about the spirit of the Old West, when you would just take care of things on your own.
This guy wouldn't have lasted very long in the Old West.
I don't think so. So what kind of society have we crafted for ourselves? I guess we have to be this way because most people aren't responsible enough to work within a moral code and to get along properly. People taking the law into their own hands could go too far. But this guy deserved a beating, and I wanted to give him a beating.
But we have crafted a society where no one got beat, and this person is still alive. And I think that's...
Well, I wouldn't have killed him.
Well, you know, but I mean in the sense that, like, he's made it this far in life.
Yeah.
And no one's done this to... You know what I mean? And I'm sure the reason he was quoting you, like, all that stuff about, see, hit me, I'm sure someone's hit him before.
Probably.
And that person's probably had horrible consequences for it.
Probably.
And through no fault of their own, they probably hit him for a good reason, right?
Probably.
And so that's what it is.
I just wish there was some sort of dispensation that could be placed into the law when you're being faced by a screaming idiot inches from your face that you're allowed to pop him one. If this were a jury trial, I don't think anyone would convict me for that. I think it would be justifiable bludgeoning in that case.
Justifiable bludgeoning. Yeah, I wouldn't have voted to convict. I'll tell you that right now.
So how would you have dealt with this any differently?
I hope I would have dealt with it in the same way as you did. I don't get in situations like this because I don't think I would have dealt with it the way you dealt with it.
Yeah.
I might have dealt with it in a different way. And that probably would have been a really bad thing for me at this point. But it's like, that was the way you're, at that point, that's the way you deal with it. You got to.
I guess it just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not the satisfying conclusion. I have a feeling that those people get they get it at some point.
Yeah, okay. I'll be magnanimous and I'll say I hope he gets some sort of mental help. And maybe his life will get back on track.
I hope he does too, but I think, like, if the situation arises again, he ends up with someone who maybe isn't as tolerant as you guys, and he's given a severe beating, I'm not going to feel really bad about that either.
Yeah, it's universal karma by that point.
At that point, it's like, that's the way it goes.
So I guess the story proves our That's What Men Are Like segment. Me showing an amazing male ability to restrain my violent impulses in the face of overwhelming provocation. And that's
this
what
guy,
Brad is like.
And this guy, who's completely out of his mind, still knows enough to, like, never, like, punch you or hit you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? He'll do anything. Just completely freak out, vandalize, go completely insane, but he won't do that.
Yeah. I that did kind of occur to me. If he had done anything.
Yeah. He would have been. That's what you would have been hoping for that.
That's where the self-control ends,
Well, and the other thing about that is, though, that's where, if he hits you, game on, game on.
You would hope so.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
But I could still see, I have no faith in our legal system. All right. Well, that was a tale of woe for our listeners on the Warren
God,
and Bradley
what a
show.
dark story.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully my brother will find a roommate who isn't certifiably insane and he can actually have a pleasant life.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, so I guess that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley show this week. Just reminding you, do not rent to Lauren Walker, a middle-aged, weenie gay man. This has been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
This is your other host, Warren.
Saying...
Don't rent to that guy.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
I force myself into these adventure fantasies that I construct, and then as I fall asleep, I usually can act out those fantasies in my dreams.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because if you just let your damaged, horrible subconscious take over, it's just going to bring back a bunch of animals and make them convulse.
Well, it is kind of worrying to think, like, that's where my subconscious goes. As soon as I'm not in control anymore, it's like, let's twist the knife a little bit there, buddy. Thanks. That's nice. Sometimes
I think about all the animals I've known over the years, and how if I've like moved away or I haven't seen them in a long time, how they're all dead now. And I'm always like, that's a bummer, right? Because even if you saw a dog or a cat that you liked 10 years ago, and you hung out with, and then you like left, it's dead by now usually, for the most part.
I think about if you get into be in your 50s or 60s and you start thinking about like ex-girlfriends you've had and how many of them were probably dead by now.
50s or 60s.
Well, okay, maybe 70s or 80s. I don't know.
Well, I think when you get in your 70s and 80s, you're just thinking about how everyone's dying.
Yeah.
Like, I know you talked about your immortality the other day, how much you would treasure it. But as far as I can tell from the old people I've known, the longer they live, the sadder and sadder they get because everyone keeps dying. And then they stop, like, I know my grandfather, before he died, he stopped going to funerals.
Right.
So it's just like all you do is go to funerals.
I've known some old people to be slightly pleased by the fact that they've outlived everybody.
Well, you might be that kind of creepy, weird old person.
Maybe, but if I have
who doesn't treasure his relationships with others, but just wants to triumph and dance on over in their graves.
What was I doing? Oh, yeah, I was doing cartwheels while you were shitting in your colostomy bag.
That's right. You're like, aha, I'm still alive. And it's like, yeah, it's a big success.
That's not very nice. Okay. The other day it was raining like a bastard. And I don't know.
Crazy stuff. They were sliding over. It was sliding over his back. He was like throwing it in the air and everything. It was really impressive.
Well, maybe they're some artistes, and that's the outlet of their creative energy.
They think they're really awesome, and they got like their like club music going, and
for the most part, they all look really miserable to me. And
well, they are miserable people, but
it's the same way with you hear some obnoxious radio ad. And it makes me never want to patronize that business. You know, publicity isn't always good. And advertising, just getting your name out there isn't always good.
Okay, there's the thing I don't understand about advertising. Is I was watching a basketball game the other night, and it was brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups advertising going on at that point. They're no doubt spending millions of dollars on this.
Right.
At this point, everyone knows, right?
I've known about them for a long time.
Is there anyone that's at home watching that is aware of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, or is eating me a Snickers and is like swayed in some way?
I don't know. I mean, obviously advertising is a huge business.
It must work, right?
I'm sure they've done tons of research on it.
Oh, boy.
A train break!
It's going south. That's strange.
This is a train break.
I wanted to see the commercial.
I was looking at.
I don't know if you're aware of this place, but some of our listeners might know of Liberty Tax Services. It is a business.
What are we calling a business out?
We're calling out. It's a business in Bellingham.
I know you couldn't have been getting your taxes done there.
No. They pay people to dress like Lady Liberty.
Oh, yeah,
Lady Liberty, sorry, with a sign, and they force them to dance around on the street corner with a sign.
They're not forcing anyone. They're paying meth heads to dance on the corner.
Yes, but most of the people I see dancing on the corner are like teenage girls. Okay,
runaways.
So I don't think so. They just seem like the same kind of kids who are holding the Domino's sign.
Well, the people who are holding the Domino's sign or the Little Caesar sign just look like tweakers to me. They're just like spazzing out on the corner.
Well, okay, so on one hand, yes, they're providing jobs for people who maybe you think they're tweakers. Maybe they wouldn't normally get a job. I think of them as just like teenagers who can't get a job at McDonald's or something. But anyway,
a teenager who can't get a job at McDonald's is basically a tweaker.
But that being aside, the fact that maybe they're helping the economy.
Yeah.
When I see a poor 16-year-old girl dressed in a foam Lady Liberty headdress holding a sign, and it is fucking monsoon outside, and they're in this bedraggled costume sort of dancing around on a street corner, that does not make me say, oh, I want to get my taxes done at Liberty Tax Services. It makes me want to take a fucking cinder block and throw it through their window.
But you think if people have that job enjoy it?
No.
I've always got the sense, the guys that flip the signs for the pizza places, that they think they're really cool. Someone this last week was showing me like a YouTube video of someone who was flipping one of those signs and was doing all this
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 66 of the Warren and Bradley Show. Ooh. Quite a week. I've got a good story of woe, which I will share with the listeners later. I had a weird dream the other night. I know this just sounds like, okay.
If someone's listening to the podcast for the first time, they're like, oh, so this is what the podcast is about.
Yeah, it's about
I had a weird dream last night.
Dream interpretation.
I'm gonna talk about my dream.
Or it's like you're hanging out with your girlfriend and you have to listen to the weird dream about how she looked like herself, but she didn't feel like herself.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
there were all these people she knew, but she didn't really know who they were. This is an example of my psyche trying to destroy me. And I'll explain. I was having a dream. Again, this probably will sound completely disjointed and boring to people, but I was in this house with a bunch of people who I didn't know. And feeling
like the real world.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Feeling kind of uncomfortable, but then there was a scratching at the door.
Oh, yeah.
And I opened the door, and it was my old dog, Maxie.
Oh, yeah, Maxie. I remember Maxie.
My dog who I loved. I loved this dog so much. She was my childhood dog. And I'd always felt bad because she died while I was in Los Angeles, and I hadn't been there to see her when she was dying. And so in the dream, I was just like, oh, Maxie, I was so happy.
Yeah.
So happy to see her. And she was jumping around, and we were playing, and I was petting her. And then, 5 minutes into this, I'm holding her in my arms, and she starts convulsing in horrible pain and whimpering and shrieking, and then just slowly dies in this horrible death in my arms. It's like, what the hell? And so I'm like sobbing in the dream. The dream continues with every pet I've ever loved and that has died showing up again, being alive again, me being ecstatically pleased by seeing this pet again, and then it dying in a horrible fashion. This was the fucking dream I had.
That's pretty dark.
And I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, I realized it was a dream. Because sometimes you'll wake up and you'll still be in that weird dream state, and you're, oh, was that real?
Maybe
that just happened?
dead animals came back to life.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I knew immediately it was a dream, and I was just like, what the fuck, brain? What are you trying to do here?
You're trying to grieve.
I've grieved enough.
Maybe you haven't grieved.
I don't know. You've
been putting up walls.
I was really irritated with my subconscious, actually. I was, I could be dreaming about having sex with attractive women. I could be dreaming about, going on an adventure somewhere or flying. But no, I have to get all my dead animals coming back to life and then dying horribly in succession in front of my eyes.
Well, you haven't been doing that thing where you've been doing your time-traveling dream series lately, have you?
I don't think I have.
Maybe you need to get back into that.
I try to do lucid dreaming. I'm a lucid dreaming expert where I